Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and as always, I'd like to welcome back to the show our co-host from PackYourPixieDustTravel.com, or PackYourPixieDust.com. How are you doing today, Christy?
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. We are actually not recording at night.
I know. It's so exciting. Like, middle of the day, this is prime. I'm awake.
Yeah, you've had your coffee. You're feeling good.
I am, yeah.
You're thinking about your next vacation.
Yes, always.
Cuba is coming up, isn't it?
Yes, later this week.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to hear about that. We're going to have to do a show about that. I know it has nothing to do with Disney Cruise Line or anything like that, or cruising really, but I really want to hear about Cuba and what your guys' thoughts are spending time there. Yeah,
I'm nervous about not having internet for a whole weekend.
Yeah, that might be a good thing though, right?
It might be.
Well, today we are talking Disney cruising on the Disney Fantasy, and especially a Star Wars Day at Sea. And I'd like to welcome back to the show. She's been on previously. How are you doing today, Amber?
Pretty good. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. All right. So you guys, I know, are big Disney cruising fans down there in Florida. Had you been on a Star Wars cruise before, Star Wars Day at Sea cruise?
I had not, and that was the 100% motivation to book this cruise.
Okay, so we know why you booked it. Tell us a little bit about your Star Wars fandom. Are you a huge Star Wars fan? Do you love the films? Do you like the attractions in the park that they have? Where does it come from?
It's movies. I was born in the 70s, so when the films, were coming out, I mean, I'm not like a huge mega fan. Like, I can't name all the moons and all that kind of stuff. But I can hold my own when talking about Star Wars.
Okay. And Christy, are you a Star Wars fan? I know that you're not a fan of Halloween, so Stormtroopers, are they okay?
The Stormtroopers are awesome. I mean, idiots, but awesome. Yeah, I also born in the 70s and have an older brother, so I am familiar with Star Wars. We did a Star Wars Day at Sea cruise a few years ago. I am fine with Star Wars. I don't even understand all of the groups, if that's what you're going to call them. See, I don't even know what to call them. I am aware, I know Chewie. I'm more aware than I am of Marvel. How about that?
Okay, so you know Darth Vader, Kylo Ren, Luke Skywalker, the basics.
Yes. Princess Leia, of course.
Yeah, let's not forget her. And Rey.
Yeah, Rey is so cool.
Yeah, Rey is awesome. So how about you? Do you have a favorite character there, Amber?
I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't think I do. I mean, you know what? I take that back. I love now I forgot the movie. Oh gosh, I'm the worst. The one where everybody dies at the end.
Rogue One.
Yes, that one. I love that. That's my favorite Star Wars movie, which is kind of embarrassing.
So I have to tell you this. I flew with a guy a couple of months ago, and he's a huge Star Wars fan, like super serious Star Wars fan, Star Wars everything. And he goes, "Hey, what's your favorite Star Wars film?" And I'm like, "Rogue One. It's my favorite film by far." And he goes, "Dude, that's not a Star Wars film. That's a Star Wars story or something like that." He goes, "No, it's got to be one of the episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Yeah.
No, that's dumb.
Yeah, and he was so miffed at me for the next 3 days. He kept on trying to change my mind. It's like, no, you have to like episode 4, or what is it, episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. That's the best one ever. And I'm like, no, it's a Rogue One, man. And he was like,
that's the original one, right?
Yeah, he was so disappointed in me. Anyways, so have you experienced any of the Star Wars stuff like around the parks down there, like Hollywood Studios and whatnot, Amber?
I rival Christy with the motion sickness stuff, so I cannot ride the Star Wars ride at Studios. I've walked the line multiple times and then left through the chicken exit. But I do like the whole meet and greet stuff they have at Studios over where the animation stuff used to be. That's a lot of fun.
How about you, Christy?
Well, so have not ridden the ride because, again, same, don't want to be sick. But we have done the meet and greets, and we did the Star Wars dessert party a couple years ago. Dave and I did.
So that was for the fireworks show, right?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I love seeing the Stormtroopers walk around. I think I just get a kick. As a matter of fact, I kind of stalk them, I kind of follow them just to see how they interact with everybody. I just get a kick out of them. I think they're pretty cool.
I think they're awesome. And I don't know. Yeah, I really like them. I like them moving in the packs.
Well, cool. Well, let's jump into the cruise itself. All right, Amber, who all went on the cruise this time? And obviously left out of Port Canaveral since you're on board the Fantasy, but who all went? And let's talk a little bit about that.
We had 2 rooms. One was me, my husband, and my daughter. She just turned 4. And then we had another room, which is my parents.
always like sailing with the parents so that there's some alone time for everybody. Like the parents time, you get to send your kid there, but then the kid loves it. So
yeah, my parents, they're very active. So yeah, they took my daughter and did everything with her. It was pretty awesome.
Nice.
So are they big cruising fans? Are they Star Wars fans? And is your daughter a Star Wars fan?
She also loves Rogue One. She actually calls that Star Wars, which is pretty embarrassing to the hardcore fans. But no, my parents don't. I mean, they know of Star Wars, but that's about it. And they don't even love cruising. They're also Florida residents. So I think they just wanted to hang out with us was their motivation for coming on this cruise with us.
So being in Florida, you guys head on down. How was the embarkation? Anything new going on in Port Canaveral that you might tips or anything for people coming down there?
Nothing new. We parked off-site to save some money. My husband actually dropped all of us girls off at the port and with our luggage. So that was pretty nice for them. So they didn't have to ride on some shuttle bus with, 1,000 suitcases. So I got there first. Oh, me, my mom, my daughter. And we got to check in, which is pretty cool. We didn't have to wait for them. But then we did have to wait for them to arrive from the offshore parking, and that was like the longest 45 minutes of my life because people were boarding, and I'm like, I should be boarding right now, and they were just like going through security and waiting for the shuttle bus because I'm platinum, toot my own horn there, so I could have boarded with number 1, but we ended up boarding with number 7. So,
which is still not too bad.
I know, but I was just like watching all those people board, and I'm like, it could be me. No.
Embarkation, not too bad, other than having to wait and watch people go past you, that's usually where I am. So I'm usually watching all those people go by as we're waiting for our number 30 or 35 or whatever.
Oh, it's the worst.
So before we move on, now that you parked off site and you saved the money, but you waited forever, would you recommend that route? Would you go that route again?
I would, especially for a 7-day cruise, because it's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
That we saved. Honestly, next time we would just leave home earlier. But for a 3 or 4 day cruise, it's kind of a toss up.
What about like doing Uber or something like that? Would that save you any money, just out of curiosity, rather than paying to park down there?
I have honestly never used an Uber in my whole life.
Okay.
So I have no clue what they even cost. So I don't even know. That's a good point.
How far from the port do you live?
It takes about an hour. So I'm guessing like 50 miles.
Yeah, so it'd be about $60 or $50, I think.
And then times 2, time you have to get home, obviously, also. So I don't know. That's a good question. I should look into that.
Yeah, although
it could be more. Maybe it's $70. You would also need a car seat, and as your daughter gets older, she's going to be able to use that Bumble Bum car seat, which is a blow-up car seat. So this will be tips for other people. So once she gets a little bit, I don't know how much she weighs, but as she might be in that range now. I know we started using it around 4 for my son. So you can blow it up and shove it aside when you're at the port or when you're on the cruise.
Well, cool. So you guys get on board. What are the things that you guys like to do when you first get on board, Amber, since being platinum? You've cruised several different times. You've been on the Fantasy. What are the things that you guys like to do?
Well, this cruise, I had a mission, and it was to go to the upstairs and book all the port adventures that I couldn't book online. I booked this cruise super late, and there were a bunch of Star Wars character meet and greets that you had to sign up for. And I had only signed up for 1 because that's all that was available. So I ran upstairs, and thankfully there was nobody up there. So I got to sign up for all the stuff I wanted to. And then mission number 2 was to try to get first dining because we had late dining. So after I did all the stuff upstairs on deck 5, I ran down to deck 2 to get in the dining line. And everything worked out. I got everything I wanted, which was a small miracle.
Had you previously put yourself on the waiting list for main dining?
I did, and it didn't work out. And when I went downstairs, I think I was the last person to get early dining for whatever my dining rotation was. So that was a sigh of relief because my daughter's 4. She obviously eats early. Right. I'm just old. I like to eat early. So that was my dream scenario right there.
For other people in the Caribbean, second seating books up last. So the main dining is more popular, and I think for Europe it's actually the opposite way. But a lot of times there's wait list for second seating in Europe. But you can put yourself on a wait list, which you can do prior to the cruise. If it does not come through, you'll notice it one day just on your activity sheet, whatever that main, when you log in to look at your cruise, you'll see it if you've been switched to main dining there. If not, you'll do like Amber did. They'll tell you where the dining room is to meet with I think it's the maitre d'. It's not, I don't even think it's really a maitre d', but it's some dining meeting location. And then you go there and they'll put you on a list. I had one cruise where we literally booked that cruise a week before, and we weren't able to get main dining until the second night.
Oh, wow.
But we were able to get it. So that first night, I think we just ate room service, and you could actually eat quick service up until 6 o'clock up on the deck. But then the next day it came through for us. So they will try really hard if it is something that you need.
Yes, it's the already booked site now. They've changed their website around. I kind of like it. So you go to already booked, and then it pulls up your next cruise and all the information on your next cruise. So it's right underneath there as far as your dining stuff goes. Hey, let's go back. I know you booked this cruise late. What were some of the things that you could book ahead of time for your Star Wars Day at Sea?
There were 3 character meet and greets. There was Darth Vader. There was R2-D2 and C-3PO as like a combo. And then there was Chewbacca.
Okay. And
actually, I forgot. There was one other thing. It was they called it the Padawan. No, that wasn't it. It was the lightsaber thing they do at Hollywood Studios, the Jedi training. I don't think they called it Jedi training, but you could also pre-reserve that online as well.
And did they have several times for each one of those that you could book if you'd booked it earlier?
They did, yeah. Like I said, it was all sold out online, but when I got on board, it was just wide open. There was like multiple times for everything I could have booked. So we could kind of like piece it together so your whole day was full of fun Star Wars things to do.
That's great information. Were you able to book more than 2, or was 2, did you have to pick and choose between the 2 of the choices?
No, you could get one of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really nice.
The main focus, I guess, on our show today is probably going to be the Star Wars stuff, but I don't want to not touch on some of the other things that you guys did, so maybe we'll talk about that first before we jump into the Star Wars stuff. How was dining? Anything stick out this time? I know you mentioned before the show that you guys went to Palo. Anything stick out between the dining and Palo this time?
Nothing totally different. I did want to bring up that the free soda machine that's upstairs?
Yeah.
I believe there used to be signs that said, like, don't use your own cup. So, but of course we're all using our own cups. But this time I specifically made a note because the soda machine said, please don't touch your cup to the machine or something like that. So basically, like, don't touch your cup to the little spout that the soda comes out of. So I thought that was cool. They're kind of encouraging you to bring your own cups. And also there were no lids. Disney's going the no plastic route. So they did have straws, but there were no lids, which, kind of stinks when I'm giving my 4-year-old a cup of water. But, what are you going to do?
And so this is, for the listeners, Amber's referring to on the pool deck, they have soda machines that you can just go up and apparently fill up your own cup now, as long as you don't touch the top of your cup.
Exactly.
Did you bring your own cups with, Amber, or what did you guys do?
I did, yeah. I always pack a Tervis tumbler. So I don't, those cups are so tiny. They're little like shot glass soda cups. So it's nice to have your big giant cup you can fill up.
So that worked good for your daughter and everything else, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Besides the Star Wars stuff, what about like some of the shows and some of the other onboard activities you guys did?
I don't want to brag or anything, Steve, but on day number 2, we won trivia.
What?
Yeah. So
wait. So now you have 2 winter medals?
Well, let me tell you this long and boring story.
All right.
So day number 2, me, my husband, and my dad won sports trivia.
Oh.
And so the guy's like, you won. And so he brings over some luggage tags. And I was like, oh, no.
Wah, wah, wah.
A luggage tag. So also, it was kind of a funny story. You know how you pick like a team name, on the pieces of paper for trivia? So my husband had written some like wildly inappropriate, like super pun-filled team name. And so, of course, we win. So the cast member comes over. He's like, team. And he starts reading out loud. And I'm just like, don't read this name out loud. Like, this is not appropriate for anybody. Thankfully, there weren't that many people in there. But that was really awkward. Anyway, so then day number 3, we won trivia again. And this time we got a winter medal. So now I do own 2 winter medals.
So was that sports trivia also, or what was the trivia that time?
We won movie quotes trivia on day number 3.
And Christy, are you a winner of trivia?
Nope.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Let me tell you, we played like 5 more trivias, and we came in like last every other time. So maybe like nobody was playing trivia on the first couple days, and then everybody caught on to how cool trivia is.
So maybe that's the strategy. Get down to the first or second day. So this is like less competition, huh?
The hot tip.
Well, I'm starting to notice a theme there because you won your first medal playing horse in basketball, right?
I know. So now I need more medals.
Yeah. So it's that sports, what am I trying to find? It's that kind of sports theme kind of winning or bringing you through the winning line there. So
Exactly.
yeah. So did you do any, so you won trivia, and did you take in any of the shows or anything like that?
We only went to one show. It was Aladdin, because that's like special to the fantasy, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. I'm kind of bummed I missed that show. I don't know what it's called, but it's about the kids in high school who are like going off to college, and they kind of just putz their way through Disneyland. I do love that show, but that was the night we were going to Palo, so I had to pass on that. Also, Magic Dave was on this cruise, and I remember you guys had talked about Magic Dave before, and I couldn't remember why that name was familiar. But we popped into a show with like 5 minutes left, and he's just that sassy. He's so funny. I'd forgotten how hilarious that guy is. I'm really mad at myself that I missed the Magic Dave show.
Disney Wishes is 45-minute musical journey with 3 best friends who discover the secret to being a grown-up is staying connected to their inner child.
That's it. That's a great show. I'm bummed I missed it, but my husband was really pumped about Palo, so we did that instead.
The choices you have to make, Palo or Disney Wishes, huh?
I know. You know me. I would have chose Disney Wishes all day long, but my husband really likes Palo, so we went.
Disney Wishes with a side of fries.
Right. That's my new band name. All right.
Side of fries or Disney Wishes?
Disney Wishes.
Okay, I think we're kind of coming off the rails here.
I know, but leave that stuff in, Steve. It's fun.
No, I will. All right. Let's see. Anything else to talk about as far as like onboard stuff there, Amber, that you guys did?
I mean, nothing earth-shattering. The first 2 days were sea days, and we did the whole princess meet and greet, for my daughter. We did the whole Frozen meet and greet. I did want to mention, I found a fun game, and I don't know what it was called, but they brought somebody up. This was in the Ooh La La bar, and they have like a tiny stage. So someone would go on stage, and the cast member would write a character on like a whiteboard. So let's say it was Mulan. She would write Mulan on the whiteboard. The person on stage couldn't see it, but we could all see it in the audience. And then the person on stage had to ask like yes or no questions. And so it was really interactive and a lot of fun. So it was like, am I a person? Yes. Am I a girl? Or am I like a animal? And it was a lot. And it seems so obvious when you're in the audience, like you're Mulan. But everyone on stage was struggling so much. But it was a lot of fun. It was a really fun game. I had never seen that before on any show.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Did you get up there and do it too, or do you just do it from the audience?
I wanted to, but I'm just super awkward. So I was like half raising my hand, and I didn't get picked. I was kind of bummed. But I'm definitely gonna find that on my next cruise. It was super fun.
Well, that's pretty cool. Was that advertised at all, or was it you just found it as you guys happened to be up there?
It was actually, I was leaving my winning trivia from the sports bar, and you have to walk through this Ooh La La bar, and it was just like it had just started. So I jumped down and watched that for a half hour.
Do you remember what it was called?
No, I'm going to say like name that character or something just kind of generic. I can't remember what it was called. It was super fun. I'll have to go on another cruise and report back to you guys.
I think you will. And then really quick, before we move on from activities, you said you did the Princess Meet and Greet, but you also booked at the last minute. So were you able to secure times for the Princess Meet and Greet booking last minute, or was that one of the things you did during that first when you got on board?
Yeah, that was on my short list of things to do, like right away when I got on board, because it wasn't available online. So I lucked out with that and Frozen, kind of back to back.
But it's great that you didn't have any issues getting that.
Yeah, I was shocked that everything was still widely available when I got on board. I feel really lucky about that.
Hey, I'm gonna go just on a total weird segue too. Before I do that, no, I'll do that. This is well, no, I guess I can keep this in here. I feel like we're all over the place.
No, mostly you're all over the place at the moment, Steve.
Christy and I are perfectly fine.
You're fighting with yourself about which direction you want to go.
I know. Yeah, I will promise I'll edit all this part out. Okay, so, just kind of go back, I wanted to ask you a question about, you said you went and booked the meet and greets for the Star Wars Day. Did you book some port excursions that day, too?
No, because we weren't going to do any port excursions. We were going to do stuff on our own.
The one thing that we really didn't touch on at the beginning, so this is 7 Day in the Fantasy. Why don't you just talk us through the different days, and what day was the Star Wars Day?
It was almost last. So, well, of course, day 1, you get on board. And then we had 2 days at sea in a row. And then day 4, we were in Tortola. Day 5 was St. Thomas. Day 6 was the Star Wars Day at Sea. And then day 7 was Castaway.
Perfect.
And then we're done.
Well, then just keeping with that theme then, your first stop was at Tortola. What'd you guys have planned for Tortola?
I had been there once before and loved it. So we were going to recreate what I had done the first time, which was we went to Brewers Beach or Brewers Bay. I kept saying the wrong thing, but Brewers is the key term here. Tortola is great because their taxis are very streamlined. It's not like random people giving you just random prices and you don't know if you're getting kind of ripped off. They have a nice taxi port. Taxis were $8 per person each way. And Brewers Beach was about maybe 20 minutes away. And it's a huge beach. It has awesome coral snorkeling. And it's called Brewers Beach because there's like ruins of an old brewery. They're crumbling, but they're still kind of hanging around. It's just a huge beach. There's a lot of shade there, which is pretty nice. And I would say there was like 20 people there. And so it was awesome. I would do it again. Next time I go to Tortola, I'll probably just do the same thing every single time. I love it.
How was the water for your daughter being 4? Was it wavy at all, or how was that for her?
No, it wasn't wavy because it's kind of a cove type situation. So there weren't any waves at all. It was a little chilly. She's also kind of scared of the ocean, so she only got in like up to her knees. But she was just kind of running around. There were little tiny shells everywhere. And then Grandma and Grandpa were there to entertain her as well. The water was pretty chilly, but once you get used to it, it was great. There was kind of 2 snorkeling areas, so it was good times.
It's Brewers Bay. I just pulled it up online here. So.
Okay, perfect.
And then, what you guys do? So you take the taxi over there. This is kind of an odd question too. So it's kind of, there's no like places to eat there. Did you guys bring food or snacks, or how do you guys do that?
We are very thrifty, so yeah, we had brought like apples and stuff from the buffet. But there actually is a little I'm going to call it a shack. It's very small. There's a little tiny place there that you could get some food. And actually, that's how we got the taxi to pick us up to come back. Our driver, he's like, yeah, just tell this lady who works in this little shack to call me and I'll be right here to pick you up. And lo and behold, it worked like a charm.
Did you have those open air taxis like they have in St. Thomas, or was this a car?
This was a car. It was like a minivan. And let me tell you, it was a terrifying drive over to Brewers because I feel like these hills are like 80 degrees down, and then you take like a quick turn. Like, I don't know how we're not like flipping over. Like, I was holding on for dear life, and then I looked at my daughter and she's also holding on for dear life. It was adorable. So it was really scary, but obviously, worth it once you get there. I do want to point out there was only one other ship in port, and I guess like nobody goes to this Brewers Bay because nobody was there. We did talk to some people that were on that other ship, and that ship was a 55-day cruise.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know if that'd be awesome. I would gain 55 pounds like easily on a 55-day cruise. I think it came over from Europe because these people were super, super European, but they were loving it. I thought that was awesome.
Were there open air taxis still in Tortola and that you just had a car, or were they all cars now?
In the little taxi like stand area, I only saw cars, but we just kind of went right to the taxi stand and then took off. So I didn't see any, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
So years ago when I was in Tortola, so a couple of years ago, I guess, a few years ago, it was the open air taxis like in St. Thomas.
Okay.
And you had to wait for the taxi to fill up before you could leave. And even when you were at the beach and you wanted to go, you had to sit there and wait until the giant open air taxi filled before they would take you back home.
We kind of had that situation. We were waiting in our taxi for like more people who wanted to go to Brewers Bay. And after like 10 minutes, I think they realized nobody wanted to go there. So they just let us have the whole car to ourselves.
Well, that's good. And then on the way home, you just got to come home?
Yeah, like the same guy picked us up. It was fun. I'm kind of awkward talking to strangers, but thankfully my mom is not. So she was talking up with this guy. He was telling us about the hurricane that really pretty much leveled everything. And he was talking about his company. It was his own car. It was fun to listen to him, talk about his island. He was really proud of it.
Yes, I'm reading some of the reviews online here on TripAdvisor. A fabulous escape from the cruise ship crowds. Crystal clear, warm, calm waters. Refreshing break from the commercial beaches. So now that we've thrown this out here on the podcast, the next time you go back there'll be a Starbucks. That little brewing thing will be a little homebrew place or microbrew place on the islands. It'll just be packed. So.
No, that's my secret spot. Don't tell anybody about my secret spot.
No, it looks really amazing. So what a fun day there. Okay, so from Tortola, you guys head over to St. Thomas. What did you guys have planned there?
So this is obviously kind of a one-off weird thing. A long story short, my dad has a friend who lives on St. Thomas. So actually he picked us up at the port area. We had to walk a little bit. And he just drove us around the island for free. So obviously no one else is going to be able to do that. So I don't have too much to talk about, but it was pretty cool. He took us up that classic, how they have the little gondola thing in St. Thomas that everybody does.
Yeah.
He drove us up there, and actually we saw a lot of people walking up this road. So it got me thinking, and I Googled it later. You can, if you're into exercise, you can walk up and, not pay the money to go on the gondola. You can just walk up and enjoy that really cool view in St. Thomas. So I'm going to put that on my short list for next time I'm in St. Thomas. Get a little exercise in.
Was it pretty safe as far as like walking along the road and everything like that, or?
I mean, these are also like you're going up. It felt like 80 degrees and there's some crazy turns. But there were a lot of people walking. And the guy driving us around said, a lot of natives do this as exercise all the time. So it's not uncommon, but it did look a little hairy. And it looked really hard, too. Like, it was a steep climb.
That looks like the perfect thing, like climb up and then take the gondola down. Yeah.
That's true.
There's a place in Alaska, Mount Roberts in Juneau, where that's like a great thing to do. Either take the gondola up and hike down or vice versa, and you get some great views of the bay there around Juneau. But that sounds just like a fun day on St. Thomas. How long has he lived out there?
I think it was like a year. So he was relatively new. He is a manager of a really small resort, kind of on the opposite side of where the ship docks. So he took us over there. He took us to Shepherd's Beach, which is just one of his favorite spots. So we were just kind of driving around, just checking it out, chilling. So obviously that was kind of unique to my family and I, but it was fun.
Let's jump into the reason why you booked the cruise, Star Wars Day at Sea there, your 6th day. Kind of talk to us about like how it starts. Was there any theming of Star Wars prior to that, or did they just kind of change the ship overnight?
There wasn't too much like decoration wise that I noticed. There were these, I'll call them like banners, like 7-foot tall banners of random characters here and there. So it's fun to take pictures like with some of those banners. A couple days before, they had a Star Wars 101 like little talking series. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't go to it, but it was for people that just knew pretty much nothing about Star Wars. They kind of introduced you to characters. I thought that was really clever because if you didn't know much, you wouldn't maybe enjoy it very much. But besides that, all the Star Wars stuff was really crammed into that one day, number 6.
And did they have anything like more advanced as far as talks like that beforehand? Like, like for the super uber fans where they could talk about things just out of curiosity, or?
I didn't notice anything. Of course, they had tons of stuff on that day. I didn't see anything on the Navigator for like the day before.
Okay. Well, let's jump into the actual day. What did you guys end up doing? And let's talk about some of your experiences.
Like I said, I booked that Jedi Training Academy, and that was at 9:00. So we did that right away. I didn't tell my daughter what it was. So we showed up, and they just pulled her aside and gave her a robe. And then they threw up on stage with probably about 30 other kids. And so she did the whole, like, learning how to use a lightsaber. And then Kylo Ren came on stage, and she was done. It was, I mean, like I said, there weren't that many kids up there, so we were in like the second row. This was in the giant Walt Disney Theater, so she could see us. So she just kind of scooted off stage and sat in my lap and watched Kylo Ren fight with all the other kids. So it was worth a try. 4 years old was the earliest you could do this, and she had just turned 4. So I mean, I don't blame her for being scared. That he was enormous, but I was hoping it would work out, and it did not.
We met Kylo Ren, I think, at Disneyland a couple years ago when he first came out, and I was intimidated going in that room with him. So yeah, I can imagine being a 4-year-old on stage. All of a sudden, he comes out and you got to fight him. Oh wow!
Right, he's like he's talking. He's doing his like, "You'll never match me," and all. He's pretty scary, and his voice is scary. So it was fun to watch the other kids. I'll leave it at that.
How long did that take? About an hour or so, or
I'd say 45 minutes.
Okay.
Do you recall what the age limits were?
No, I just remember it was 4, and I'm gonna guess like 10 or something like that, but I don't remember.
After the Kylo Ren experience, what did you guys do then?
I actually have my Navigator in front of me. I kept my Navigator, and they also had like a separate Star Wars Day at Sea little pamphlet. They had all the stuff to do, so I'm kind of looking at that. I think what I did next was I had a meet and greet with Darth Vader. So clearly my daughter was not going to join me for that. His line was super long. Like I had a fast pass, or I had like a meet and greet time, but I still waited a quality 45 minutes. That was kind of a bummer. So I met Vader, and then after that was in the Tube, which is one of those nightclubs on, I'm going to say, the forward of the ship. And then I ran to the back of the ship to Animator's Palette, which was where my R2-D2 and C-3PO meet and greet was. I actually ran to my daughter, who was hanging out with Grandma while I was walking around. So she joined me for that meet and greet. That line was a lot quicker, so that was nice. And then right after that, I had my Chewbacca meet and greet scheduled. So thankfully, I had scheduled them kind of back to back to back, so I wouldn't have to like leave and go find something else to do for a half hour and come back. So I also met Chewie by myself because she's also kind of scared of Chewbacca.
So the places where you meet him at, did they kind of retheme him, or you said you went to the Tube to meet Darth Vader? He's not back there just making drinks for you or anything like that, I'm supposing.
No, they had like just like a back. You could still obviously tell it was the Tube. It wasn't like super themed, but they had like a giant background, so it kind of looked like you were in the Death Star meeting him.
Okay.
Same with Chewbacca and the droids. They had like a little background, but it was still like obviously Animator's Palette for the Chewbacca, and the droids were an Animator's Palette. Did
you purchase a picture package before your trip?
I did not. After going, this is my 12th cruise, so you kind of run out of things to take pictures of, in my opinion. I actually didn't buy any photos on this cruise, and I kind of regret that because we had some cool Star Wars pictures we took, but I have so many pictures from other cruises that are just sitting in a drawer. And, we're all tidying up. It's 2019, so I didn't buy any pictures.
And obviously, you could use your own camera. So did the cast member at the front or the handler or whatever take your picture when you were there?
Yeah, for sure. They never turn out all that great. I think they kind of forced you to like look at this other picture. It's so much better. But I got some decent photos.
Okay, so you get the meet and greets done. What were some of the other things that they had planned for the day? I know there's kind of a show in the evening. So what were some of the other things that they had planned that you noticed?
There was a show in the evening. Let me actually read off this paper. They had some it's called Star Wars Superfan Challenge. So that is like a trivia contest. I didn't go just because I knew I would have no chance of even winning. And
you already won twice, so you want to
right. So I don't need all these. I don't need all the medals. I should share them.
Exactly.
With the other people for. Next on my paper, there's a costume celebration. We did go to that. It was at night. It was mostly for kids. It was like, let's look at all the Princess Leias, and they would all just kind of get on the stairs, kind of in the atrium. And it's like, let's look at all the bad guys. But it was cute. After the costume celebration, there was a dance party. So just like Star Wars-y music and your classic dance party music. They had a kids trivia. We didn't go to that either because my daughter's 4. They also had a scavenger hunt. It was called Porgs on Board Scavenger Hunt. And this was in the morning. We did this, and it was not my favorite. They gave you, it was a Porg mask, actually. So that was kind of fun. That was like a nice little keepsake. And you were looking for, there were these like decals, like kind of stuck on the walls at certain places. So it looked like a Porg had like eaten the ship, and now there were like wires hanging out and stuff like that. So that's kind of the symbol you were looking for. When you found this little hole in the ship, there was a little Star Wars alphabet type symbol, and then you match that up to your scavenger hunt, and then you had to find a word. It was actually really hard. Like, I'm a grown adult, and I was having a hard time with this, so we actually kind of gave up on doing it. And kind of the point of the scavenger hunt was in the evening, you could turn it in for a special meet and greet. Mm. However, the meet and greet was a real cluster, if I can say that on this podcast. It was like everybody who did it was crammed together, and it was Rey and Chewbacca, and then there was just like parents like pushing each other to try to get a picture of like these 50 kids with Rey and Chewbacca. So it was kind of a mess, to be honest. I don't know, maybe that was just me, but that was not very Disney-like, in my opinion. So that was not my favorite Star Wars thing we did. They also had a bunch of Star Wars drawing activities. You know, they have the drawing academies throughout the cruise where you can draw Disney characters. They had those for Star Wars. I did not do that. The last thing they had was little BB-8 races in the lobby, you know, where they like race babies and they have stuff like that. They had these little BB-8 robots, not robots. Well, they were robots. What's it called? Like RC cars where you have the little, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
describing it terribly.
Motorized or remote.
Yes, remote control. That's what I'm looking for. They had little remote control BB-8s, and kids were trying to race them down and then turn around and come back. We didn't participate, but it was fun to watch. Everybody was really getting into it and cheering on these little tiny BB-8s. That was fun.
Those are actually really cool. My son's got, he doesn't have BB-8, he's got BB, whatever the other one. It's like one of the bad guy droids, but it's made it's made by Sphero, and that's who made the actual droids, I think, for the movie, for BB-8.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's a really cool, I can't remember if Disney bought that company or they're thinking about it. Anyways, they're actually really cool robots, and they're kind of tough to drive, so it'd be kind of fun to watch a race like that in the lobby.
Yeah, because it's like a sphere, and it's trying to go straight, and it just doesn't. And then turning around was a huge disaster. So it was, they had that at least like 3 or 4 times in the lobby. So it was fun. You're just walking around, and you just kind of stumble across, you know, kids racing things in the lobby. That was fun. Then you said there were fireworks, and it was awesome. They had like a big show before the fireworks, and I would say every single Star Wars character ever was like in the show. So that was fun to watch, and then the fireworks were awesome.
And did your daughter stay up for that as well?
She did. That was some sort of miracle, because I'm looking at my navigator, and it started at 10:15, and then the fireworks are probably like 10:45. So yeah, we both watched that. It was awesome. Actually, we didn't talk about this. There was also a pirate night on this cruise, so we got 2 fireworks.
Oh, they did the fireworks both times.
Yeah. Actually, well, I'll talk about pirate night in a second, because it was totally different than all my other cruises. So that was kind of a new one for me. But the Star Wars fireworks were classic. You got the show, you got the fireworks, and you got the enormous dessert party inside cabanas afterwards.
Nice. So they themed the music with it too, so they're playing the Star Wars music as the fireworks are going off?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
The whole day, Steve, the Star Wars music is on the ship.
Oh man, that's I've got to do this. That would be so cool.
I should also mention in the Buena Vista Theater, there was just Star Wars movies all day long, which I was excited. Although it was episode 1, 2, and 3, which I think we can all agree are the worst 3 episodes. So I didn't watch any of those.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to spend my time at sea doing that, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, I kind of wanted to go see like episode, I don't know, maybe 4, like see that on a big screen with my daughter. I thought that would have been cool, but
yeah,
alas, it did not happen.
Next time.
Right, I'll have to go back.
Well, did you put that in the comments section? Hey, 1, 2, and 3. I don't think anybody really wants to see that.
I did.
Start with 4.
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, anything else on the Star Wars Day at Sea that we missed or didn't touch on before we move into the Pirates?
I don't think so. It was a lot of fun. There was, like I said, I have this paper with like 12 activities, and I feel like I did 3 of them, and my day was like jam-packed. So, yeah, there was something for everybody, that's for sure.
So, I mean, would you do this? This is a question, I guess. I mean, they're running, and I'm sure they update it, change some things as they go. You know, Marvel, you know, they add Black Panther, Captain Marvel's now on board, so they do make some changes. Is this something that you would want to book again?
I'm going to to say no, just because I would rather do Marvel, because I haven't done that yet. I'd rather do other things. Like, it was a lot of fun, and if I just, happened to be on a ship and there happened to be some Star Wars things going on, I would really enjoy myself. But I don't think I would seek out a cruise just for this particular reason.
Have you had any feedback on that? I was just kind of that just popped in my mind. Have you had any feedback of that at all, Christy, from like some of the people you've worked with? Like, is this something that people come back to over and over again? Because I kind of feel, I guess, the same way maybe Amber does.
I don't know that you could avoid coming back to it if you still want to do Caribbean cruise the first few months of the year. You know what I mean? Like the winter season, the cruise season to the Caribbean. If you want a 7-night cruise, you have to do a Star Wars Day at Sea cruise. And it used to be that it was only on when they did the Western Caribbean, I believe, or the East. It was always, I think it was originally always the Western, but they switched it to making it both sides, both Eastern and Western now. So you can't avoid it. So if you want to cruise during that season, you will be on it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mean it to be a negative. I guess I mean, it'd be something I think.
I don't know that people are like, I have to go on it again. I guess I haven't heard that necessarily.
And I guess that's where I was going at with it. Like, I mean, I was just curious, like how much of a draw it is for people coming back. Obviously, if it's on there and you're doing it, I'm not going to complain. But I was just curious. Okay.
And I think, like everything Disney Cruise, like if you wanted to avoid Star Wars, you could have easily avoided it. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of non-Star Wars things going on where if you weren't into it at all, like you would have still had a blast on this cruise.
Okay.
And it's only one day.
True. Very true.
Well, let's talk about the Pirate Night. What was different this time that you hadn't experienced before?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about this. Because normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, normally it's like the party, there's the show at like 10 o'clock at night, and then the fireworks. But this time, they had a show before dinner, like before the first dinner. They had kind of like the kids' pirate show, I'll call it, like right by the pool. So we went to that little piratey show, and then we went to dinner, and then in between the dinners was the second, more like scarier pirate show, and then that's when they did the fireworks, was between the two dinners. Since the time, we haven't had the time change yet, so it was dark, at like 6:30 at night. And then there was no buffet later because, everybody went to second dinner. So it was interesting. I liked it because I didn't have to stay up till 10:30 at night to see some fireworks. But one note, it was packed because obviously everyone's still awake, in between the two dinners. So the fireworks were packed.
That's a good point.
I guess by mixing it up a little bit like that, like you said, Amber, gives maybe some of those younger kids that have never been able to see the fireworks a chance to see it. Like, I know Blake goes to it early, right, Chrissy?
Yeah, he does. So that would have worked out. And I've seen it, like, twice. No, maybe I've only noticed it ever that it occurred early once. And then, like, your mentioning of it. I don't think I've even seen it more than that, though.
Yeah, I had never heard of that before. I liked it because, like I said, it was like stuff to do in between dinner. So, and plus the Star Wars, it would have been like the same exact thing. So mixing it up, I liked it.
Yeah, I'd like them to do that more.
Yeah, maybe in the summer it's a little bit harder because it stays lighter a little bit longer. But maybe in the winter they're mixing it up like that'll help out families with younger kids to be able to see it, or adults that like to go to bed early.
Yeah, that's me.
Also me.
Well, anything else about Pirate Night before we move on to Castaway Cay?
I think so.
Okay, so on to Castaway Cay, Christy's favorite island. I have to throw that out there every time, I think.
Yes, you do. And I don't mind because it's my favorite island.
You've been there a bunch. Amber, what did you guys have planned, and how was your day there?
Actually, I wanted to bring up the Castaway 5K, which I did again, and it was different. When I signed up for it, well, first of all, it's free, so you don't really need to rush to sign up, but I always do anyway. When I signed up, they were like, okay, do you want to run at 9:45, 10, or 10:15?
Oh.
And I was like, what? So I'm like, 9:45, I don't know. So you didn't have to meet on the ship and everybody walk off together. It was just show up at the starting line, pick up your bib, and go. So it's kind of cool. I think we got there at 9:50. So it had just started. And we picked up our bibs, and they're like, do you have any questions about the course? They had a little, map of it. And I was like, no, I've done this before. They're like, all right, go for it. So you just like start, you just start at a random time. It was kind of nice. It wasn't congested. Everybody was already like half done. Tons of people hadn't started yet. So that was brand new to me. It was pretty cool.
That's the first time I've heard of that going that way. So that is very interesting.
Yeah, it seems like
it was nice to get off the ship at my leisure and, just slowly make your way to the starting line.
Sounds like it kind of spreads the crowds out a little bit for the run, too. So that was like, I remember in the past, people say that was like one of their favorite hacks. They signed up for the 5K so they could get off the ship before other people. So now,
right.
Yeah, so now I'm assuming they just have once they open up the port, everybody can just leave whenever they want to now, huh?
Yeah, because like I said, the first race was 9:45, and I don't remember what time you could have gotten off the ship, but it was definitely like way earlier than that.
Well, cool. Well, what else did you guys do with your time at Castaway Cay?
Well, my favorite hack for Castaway is to do the run and leave my kid on board with my husband, or in this case, my parents, and they could just go swimming all morning because literally no one's on the ship. In the morning after we ate breakfast, the pools were closed. They were not going to open till 11 a.m.
Oh.
So my little trick was ruined. So we all got off the ship because we kind of had to. So my parents took my daughter. They just played in the sand because she's scared of the ocean. So they just played in the sand and rode bikes. While my husband and I ran, we actually went back to the ship to change, then came back and found them for lunch. We went to Cookies. It was kind of a bummer because they had lost power at some point over at Cookies, which meant the food was fine, but the soda and the ice cream machines were broken. So that was a kind of a bummer. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing. We didn't do much on Castaway. We got back to the ship around 2, and this is where we took advantage of the pool being completely empty. Nobody was up there. My kid could do the Mickey slide like a million times, and we just kind of chilled up by the pool. It was kind of chilly. Actually, we have a great photo of the three of us. We are sitting at the pool by ourselves, and we all have sweatshirts on. And now, granted, everybody else has like a tank top, but we're from Florida, so it was probably in the low 70s. So for me, that requires a hoodie and some pants.
You get your North Face jacket on.
Right, yeah, I got my earmuffs. But this whole cruise was actually pretty cold. This was the week that it was like -20 like everywhere else. Like, you know what I mean? It was really snowy everywhere. Actually, the first day of the cruise, it was in the 60s, so everybody else was probably loving it, but me, I was like dying. So the whole cruise the weather was not the greatest for me. It was sunny, but it was not like sitting out by the pool sunny. Right. But that's it. Not much at Castaway. I'm kind of embarrassed. I didn't do a whole lot.
Which week was this cruise?
It was January, I'm going to make this up, like 26th or 27th.
Okay.
So like the last week of January. Actually, the first day, it was so windy that Cabanas was just packed. Like you could not eat outside. Like your food was just blown away. And actually the rest of the cruise, it was really windy. Like I wore a lanyard with my room key in it, and it was like slapping me in the face the whole time as I was walking around.
I had cruised the previous week, and it was extremely windy and really poor weather that week as well.
Yeah, it was not good swimming weather this cruise, which is fine by me because all the kids who live up north were in the pool, so it was a madhouse. It was just packed all the time.
Well, I wouldn't be embarrassed about not just relaxing and spending a nice, relaxing day in Castaway Cay. It sounds like the perfect day. So, well, you guys head back on board, head back to Port Canaveral. Any tips for people as far as easier ways to get off, to disembark, anything like that, Amber?
No, for once, I wasn't like rushing back to work after I had to get off the ship. So we just really took our time. We were kind of one of the last people to leave, which meant there was 1 million people in line to go through customs. But it was all right. Just your classic debarkation. Nothing too exciting.
Do they, I never really asked you guys this. Do they, if you're a platinum member, they don't give you any, you get a special line to get on board, but nothing really on getting off, is there? Except concierge, I know you do, but for platinum,
well, concierge, though, you only get off the ship in a special line if you leave at a certain time. You still stand in the same line everybody else stands in once you're in the port.
For customs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. I was just kind of curious. I never really thought about that. I know you guys take advantage of those Florida residency rates, kind of watching those as they go. What do you guys have booked for the future?
Nothing booked. I have my eye on, I think there's a Magic cruise out of Miami in December because my birthday's in December and I haven't done a Christmas cruise in a long time. And I think this cruise goes to Key West, which I also haven't been to in forever. So I've got my eye on that, but obviously that won't pop up at a Florida resident rate for quite a while. So I'll just have to save my vacation days until then.
All right, so a couple questions for you. Lightning round here at the end.
All right, go.
See what you think. Aqua dunk, aqua duck.
I have never done the dunk because I only go on cruises out of Florida, and that's just the dream and the fantasy. So I have never done the dunk.
Oh, the magic leaves out of you can make it down to Miami.
I know, but do I have to drive 3 hours to Miami, Steve?
Okay.
No, like I want to because I'm dying to see those two. I'm going to call them new ships because I haven't been on them in over 10 years. They're almost like brand new to me.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, well that ruins that next question. Okay, but Halloween on the High Seas or Very Merry Time Cruise?
Very merry all the way.
And I know what you're going to answer on this one. Palo, dinner at Palo, or Star Wars Episode 4 with fries?
Star Wars Episode 4 with fries and chicken fingers.
And chicken fingers, that's right. I couldn't remember the other part of the fries. Well, cool. Christy, anything else before we kind of wrap up?
I'm still laughing. I like it. No, I don't. I'm sure I'll think of 5 questions as soon as we're done recording.
Okay, and I just one last one. What would you name the next ship? Any ideas on that?
Oh my gosh, I don't. And I wish I had some great names because then I'd be super famous.
Yeah.
I'm really, it's so cheesy, but I'm like really pumped to hear what these names are, even though like they're just names of ships. But like I'm so excited for these 3 new ships. I cannot contain myself.
So I watched online 2 days ago, the Symphony of the Seas from Royal Caribbean came out, and out of Meyer Werft, and they have a Norwegian ship is now being built. And so what they do is they take a coin. I have to go into this at some point, but they take a coin. It's kind of a special tradition. Kind of it's a good luck type of tradition, and they take a coin and then they put the first part of the hull onto the coin, so the coin gets up into the hull. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so they got a big section of the hull. They drop that down on the coin. It's a big kind of every ship they do that to. It's for good luck, and a rumor has it sometime in the fall for Disney to start. So pretty excited.
Bring it.
It's getting
Bring
closer.
it on.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to. I wonder if Vegas will have Vegas won't do it, but we should have like a Disney Vegas or something like that with the odds of what the name's going to be.
Oh my gosh, that's genius. Do it.
So maybe we'll put that out there for the fun of it. Instead of March Madness, we'll call it Ship Madness to see what comes out with the names. So
we were talking about the release prices that came out for summer of 2020 today on some of those cruises, and looking at the prices, my husband and I are this morning, and man, it has me so worried for the new ships. Because these prices, and especially unique prices and concierge on unique prices, are just really high. So maybe it's Blake's college education, or
I know my gut says that those new ships will be in high demand, so these other 4 ships maybe won't be in such high demand, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but I want to go on a new one.
I know, right?
Right? So, yeah, that's going to be tough.
Well, I'm hoping with you, Amber. I'm hoping the rest of the ships, nobody else is going to want to go on them. It'll just be the 3 of us. Well, Christy will be on the new ship, but then
I'll be on the boat. Relax.
The 3 of us will be on the Magic together, sailing out of Port Canaveral when it comes back up there. So
exactly.
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
Well, anything else, Amber, before we close out the show?
I don't think so. Well, I do want to give a shout out to the Fantasy does that animation night at Animator's Palette, and that's the greatest thing that they've ever conceived, where you draw your little character and then they make it into our cartoon. It's the coolest thing of all time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to Google it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, mine never looked very good. So.
Oh, mine's terrible. But it's cool to watch because you see the kids. It's just a big scribble fest, and then there's always some like professional artist at some table that draws something amazing. It's so much fun to watch.
To wrap it up, then, once again, Amber, thank you so much for coming back. When you guys book your next cruise, whatever it happens to be, when you guys get back from it, give us a shout out, let us know, and we'll have you back on. We'll talk some more Disney Cruise Line.
Will do. You know how Saturday Night Live has like the 5-timers club and like the 10-timers club, and they have a special jacket they always wear?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to look for my jacket in the mail in a couple of years.
Well, Chrissy was on it with the magnets, so I'll have to put her on it with the jackets then too.
Yes, make it happen, Christy.
Yeah, sure.
No pressure. Well, thanks again, Amber, for coming on, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
All right. See you later.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I'd really like to thank Amber for coming back on and sharing her and her family's experiences as they sailed aboard the Disney Fantasy and experienced that wonderful Star Wars day at sea. All of us, I think, who are Star Wars fans would love the opportunity to sail with DCL and experience a day like that. And if you would like to come on and share your family's experiences at either sailing with Disney Cruise Line or Adventures by Disney, Christy and I would love to have you. You can reach out to me, Steve at dclpodcast.com. And of course, you can find Christy at packyourpixiedust.com. And you can also reach out to the two of us on Facebook at DCL Podcast. And I'm over at Twitter at DCL Podcast. And Christy's at PackYR Pixie Dust on Twitter. I'd like to thank everybody who's taken the time to go over and leave us an iTunes review. That sure helps us grow the show and gets us a little bit better known in the podcast, Disney, and the cruising community. So if you have time and a chance to do that, we sure would appreciate that. It just helps us grow the show even more and builds our audience. Well, if you are heading out on your next trip between now and our next show, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.